Hello guys, welcome back to What If for the third instalment of this short series, 13-part series really. The third instalment was talking about Parcel Series 2 from 1992. Interesting. It's like, why is it in 1992, you may ask? And why is it not set in the 80s? Why is it not produced in the 80s? Why? Just to clarify, obviously, interestingly, because we'll get the context really. The first series, Postman came out in 1981. Then afterwards, Ivan Wood and his company went to do Bertha and Charlie Chalk in the mid and late 80s, of course, so busy doing them. It wasn't until 1991 that Postman really came back, really. And it's the 1990s that he became more prominent, he did, because you got the specials from 1981 and 1994, and then you got the second series in 1996. So it slots into that sort of 90s era nicely, actually. So it's like slow between the two specials, whatever. And I thought 992 might do, actually. So it carries on from from the specials, Postman the Toy Soldiers and Postman Pat Takes the Bus, and yeah, it just falls on from there. You got Ken Barry and Carl Boyd doing the voice work, of course, and just basically the same old stuff, really. It's just got a series. You have to wait maybe a few years. I think to the mid 90s you have to wait for the second series. So there's an early one here. I thought maybe just like slow between the two between the specials, the pair of specials. So specials, a series, then more specials, then another series. That seems sort of logic, really. Obviously, I mentioned Pat was bigger in the 90s. It was at the point. He appeared more and more. He did, whereas in the 80s he rarely did. He did repeats, of course, but he only had the one series in the 80s, really. So 90s, it seems more relevant. It does. We've got 13 stories, and these are based on books that were published in 1989, roughly. I think 89 and something. I think turn of the 90s, really, as well, like in 1990, I think. Written by John Cunliffe, so they're basically original stories by him, and they were illustrated by Joan Hickson. They were, and it was hard to pick actually because there's quite a lot of good stories that he actually written at that period, really, in the 80s. I'm surprised some of these never been really adapted, really, but. Here's the point now. These are adapted from the books anyway, so they're not really heavily written or solely written, originally written by John Cunliffe. They actually come from the books first and they've been adapted or refined, really. So episode-wise, there's 13 episodes and I'll go through them now. So episode 1, well actually no, I'll just go through. I can't really think of where they slide into. I'll just randomly say out titles, really. So Postman Pat and the Bees, Postman Pat Makes a Splash, Postman Pat and the Dinosaur Bone, Postman Pat Plays for Greendale, Postman Pat's Sawtooth, Postman Pat's Wet Day, Postman Pat's Safari, Postman Pat's Washing Day, Postman Pat and the Pet Show, Postman Pat and the Harvest Parcel, Postman Pat and the Spring Cleaning Day, Postman Pat's Washing Day, of course. I'm just trying to think of names again. Names. It'll be down below anyway, but I'll try and think of them anyway. So Postman Pat and the Harvest Parcel, Postman Pat and the Greendale Ghost, Postman Pat and Postman Pat's Christmas Tree. So very much. So in the end one, you finish with a Christmas theme one, like it was saying winter, really. I think the last ones actually deal with seasons, actually. Like there's two saying autumn, Postman Pat and the Harvest Parcel and Postman and the Greendale Ghost. So they sort of round that series off. Like I can't really think, I can't really imagine doing that a Postman Pat series, like saying, spring, summer, autumn, winter. There's really no way like that. Especially like in the first series, it was all over the place with seasons or whatever. It's like, like in episode 3, you get Letters on Ice, I think, for episode 3, I think, when you originally got. But it's an interesting idea. It follows on from the 91 specials. It would have been interesting, actually. Obviously, it is something different, something interesting, and it carries on, really. I think this is probably the last time it'll probably be more simplistic stories, very much, because Series 2, it did offer some out there stories in the way, take a different sort of turn, like Postman Pat and the Robot, for example, or what's another one? Or Postman Pat Takes Flight. So them stories, really. You have the obvious ones, of course, but you have some very out there ones that you sort of never really expect, really. But it's like 90s, it's pandering to a very different audience. At that point, times change very much. So you have to be more interesting, really. So I think this would have been like the sort of. I think actually after the specials, the 94 specials, it would have been, you know, that sort of the calm, gentle, whatever type of storytelling, you know, would be finished at that point. Of course, then afterwards you have Cosgrove Hall ones who do bonkers shit they do. Anyway, no offense to the company, of course, but they do some far out stuff really and take it to a next level they do, which is, and I'm entirely what we do with Postman Pat really, you know. We don't see him do backflips or whatever, go being like a bloody hero or something like that, like he's invincible or something. It's like, well, no, it's totally different. It's been, you know, it has like, you know, certain quarters he can't really do, like in terms like master roller skates or anything like that, you know, or trying to get parcels, of course, on a motorised scooter made of a desk and a petrol engine, which is actually still a good story. That is, that's a brilliant story. That is. But it's just like that really. It's like, you know, it's like basic stuff, of course, like with Pat, you know, just having misadventures around Greendale, of course, like one thing with Makes a Splash, he does babysitting, of course, and looks after a baby. What else? Possibly, like the bees, he probably gets chased by bees or something like that, do with beekeeping or something like that, to Miss Hubbard's hobby or something like that, or next interest, who knows, in a way. And also, like wanted to do with him and Jess, of course, pet show, him being injured, like do his sword tooth or something like that, you know, trying to think of remedies like pull a string on the door or try and do something different with it. I'm not sure about the story really, but it's an interesting idea. And also him playing cricket, like he joins the Greendale cricket team in one story. So yeah, it's an interesting idea really. And I thought, you know, a series like that, they'll probably work. There are other stories that were never included though, like, again, like I said, it was very tough to actually put on really, but there was some leftovers like Postman Pat's Market Day, Postman Pat Goes to Town, which I do think is sort of borrows elements to, you know, sort of Postman Pat Takes the Bus, so maybe borrows elements from that actually. So I was not sure about that. Postman Pat and the Greendale bus, like an old-fashioned bus that they sort of renew a thing, even though I think that is being used on the Greendale rocket, I think, you know, that when Cosgrove Hall took over animated duties, so probably that's all been recycled, I think. So some of them might be recycled, some of them might be interesting in a way. Cat Up a Tree Party was another one. Let me think of another one. Postman Pat's Day in Bed. Now that seems, I think I've chosen not to use that one because it does borrow, it does sort of elements of that are sort of included in the big surprise really. You know, when he sort of pulls his back and his wife takes over the post really. You know, does a shift really, and yeah, it seems a bit irrelevant, but it's basically I've chosen ones, of course, like, you know, again, recycled material that's been probably used in, you know, in early stuff beforehand in the series and later stuff, really. So these all work ideally, they do, because they offer something different they do, which is all right. So there we go. So that's really what Postman Pat Series 2 is actually like if it was made or broadcast in 1992. Would be interesting. We'll see what your thoughts are. Thank you guys for watching. As always, see you for the next video. See you later.